heads, get up, get out of bed, cheer up the sound.
The Red Robin podcast is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by supporters, players and club officials. Head down to Leeds Road and check them out for all your motoring needs.
You're mute. You're on mute, Johno.
Can you lip read, James?
No.
You're on mute.
We'll start that again. It's another seismic week for Hull Kingston Rovers and the Robins, and I was one grand game away from the first ever Super League Grand Final appearance. Join me this week to look back at 𝗕𝗂𝗱𝗴𝗲𝗁's victory over Leigh and preview Saturday's semi-final encounter with Wigan is Craig Eskrett and James Purling. Plus, we try and make sense of the news that Danny McGuire is set to depart Rovers come the end of the season, and I get their opinion on the imminent departure of Rhys Kennedy, with him set to make way for Wakefields' Jai Whitbread. We also celebrate Jez Littens' new 4-year deal, and we heap praise on the club women's side as they reach the Championship Grand Final. All this and more on this week's Red Robin Podcast Weekly. James, you've been on holiday. You've had loads of shit coming back home, dealing with baggage, etc., etc. You must be glad to be back home and ready to watch Hull Kingston Rovers in a playoff semi-final.
Can't wait, Johno. Can't wait. Yeah, says them right for flying Ryanair, doesn't it? You know, sort of. But hey, her can't have everything. But no. So great to be back. And yeah, just since the beginning of the week, it's just been non-stop news, hasn't it? And it's almost like the weekend's become a bit of a sideshow in the end.
Yeah, James, you're so right. I mean, there's so much to get through on this week's podcast. It's like every time, isn't there? There's something going on. Never mind on the field, all the stuff that's going on off the field. I mean, Craig, let's rewind. Let's forget. Let's remember, actually, we beat Leigh to get into this semi-final. 20 points to 6 victory over Leigh Leopards. Tries for Sam Luckley, Ryan Hall, Jack Walker, Schneider with 4 goals. It was a tough old game, wasn't it, Craig? But I don't know what you thought. The Robins looked quite assured, didn't they? Although the scoreline might not reflect it, the performance was very professional and it's quite reassuring, actually, that it wasn't a crazy scoreline, but in the end, Rovers never really looked too troubled by Leigh.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that and being, the word professional, because leading up to it, like, you're just thinking, oh, can we defend like we have been doing in recent weeks? And I thought the defence again was absolutely outstanding. But again, it got to half time and like the nerves kind of went. I said to my mate, I was like, we're in full control of this. There's not a chance, unless we get a man sent off and we get some freakish injuries, we're not losing it. And I actually said at half time, I was like, we've not used Abdul or Jez Littens. So for me, the game management from Willie Peters, who was excellent there, because he kind of thought he's going to try and tire them out. And when they do tire, he's going to bring Abdul Littens on to just speed everything up. And I think on the podcast last year, we actually spoke about when Tony Smith was here about we only seem to have like a plan A. And I felt like there was like plan Bs at times, especially in that game, when Leigh were going down our right-hand side edge. It kind of worked for him a couple of times, but the scrambled defence, the discipline was there. And it was like Lee didn't have a clue what to do after that. So I just thought from start to finish, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, you're right to highlight that, right, Edge. I mean, key to that is Tom 𝗕𝗂𝗏. I mean, what signing he's been. He's not one player who'll probably get celebrated as much as some of the others, but he's a player who's so key and actually the fact that the settle right wing back for Detroit. Um, credit to him, I was being able to shore up that right end. I mean, James, if you go to the starting lineup, we had Walker Senior, 𝗕𝗂𝗏, Hall, Lewis, Schneider, King, Marcel, Sue, Batchelor, Lynette, and Keller. The bench was probably one that might have surprised a few people in terms of Jordan Abdul, Jez Littens, Matty Staunton, and Sam Luckley. I mean, Matty Staunton definitely deserved to keep his place after his performance at Wakefield, albeit in the second row. Of course, Hadley was injured, so he missed out. Might have surprised a few people, Rhys Kennedy being the 18th man. But I don't know. I likened it to a little bit like football, where your bench, you need your creative players, you need the players who might be able to make things happen when you're down in the dumps. You know, bearing in mind this is playoff rugby. You know, there's no second chance, and maybe having Abdul and Litton, people who can make them things happen when you need them to, is better than having a bench of forwards. You know, who are going to plod down the middle, and ultimately, Willie Peters again. He seems to have got it right.
Yeah, it certainly did. I think, there was obviously a lot of debate, I think, pre-game about whether he would go with Abdul or would go with Kennedy. And personally, I thought he would go with Kennedy just purely because of the size of the lead forwards and just to sort of be able to counteract them. And, when you, I think there was sort of a lot of noise coming from the league camp about Asiata being back in the team and everything being named the squad. Ultimately, it didn't make the team anyway. So it became a moot point. But yeah, at the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding, and once again, Willie Peters got it right, and I think that it was as Craig said, he didn't really bring Abdul and Litton on until late in the second half, and we would start watching it and thinking, hang on, we didn't probably expect Litton to be on, because the previous week he'd left him on, around 20 minutes to go, and then not even bring Abdul on. I thought, well, actually, yeah, it's probably tiring the lead forwards out, tiring them out, getting them run around a bit, and then you're getting Abdul and Litton to create that space and those opportunities. So yeah, again, it pulled another masterstroke.
Yeah, I mean, Lee obviously took the lead. They went ahead on the 7th minute with a penalty. They went 2-0 in front. Schneider levelled it after 22 minutes. It went 2-2. And then Jack Walker, he comes in and scores a try. Obviously departing the Robins come the end of the season. Fantastic offload, Craig, from James Batchelor. He almost put it on a plate for Jack Walker. And Jack Walker he's a player who seems to be getting better and better, doesn't he? The more he pulls on that red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers. Looked like he injured himself in the aftermath, but thankfully he was able to carry on. Brad Schneider adds the extras, but it was a great try, wasn't it? I mean, it did look like a training ground move, the way that they shifted the ball out. Batchelor showed his class. For me, he should have been in the Super League Dream Team, but I mean, we've already talked about that and what some of the nonsense that was. But a great try for the Robins.
Yeah, it was. James Batchelor, he just oozes class to me. In my opinion, he does, and he should be for me in the England squad come the end of the year. He spotted the gap, but sometimes you kind of look at him and you don't, from different angles, you don't think he's like the biggest of second rowers, but he's so strong. He can read a game. He's always got that ball to offload. And just going on about Jack Ward, how professional has he been? He could have just kind of sat back and gone with the emotions, but he hasn't. He's getting better every week, and it's like I think we said before. The consistency is key, and it's definitely key for him. And the fact that his support players, it is outstanding. The amount of times he's in and around where the ball is, and he's looking always for that offload. So yeah, great support play from him, and a great try.
Yeah, and James, I mean, let's just stick on Jack Walker. I know he's leaving, he's going to them lot, and they're so fortunate enough to be getting him. But he's not the biggest of blokes, is he? But he's a brave bloke, and he puts himself in difficult positions. He's not afraid to take the line on. He gets big knocks. He puts his head where he probably shouldn't do, and but then also he comes up with a magic as well. And
Mm.
there's no doubt if you can keep him injury free, he's an absolutely fantastic addition to any side. And you know what? After the 𝗕𝗂𝗱𝗴𝗏 departed and we played around with Ethan Ryan, Jack Walker has come the back end of the season. He's proven his weight in gold, isn't he? And he's another one who just slotted seamlessly into the side.
He has, yeah, and I think just really echoing what Craig says, he just taught professionalism. He could have come along just for the ride and everything, but he hasn't. I think he hasn't. He's really bought into the club as well. He's always on Twitter, sort of posting things, etc., and how much he's enjoying it. And it's a real shame we couldn't keep him. And that's it could be one that's going to come and bite us in the bum later in future years. But by the same token, I think at least the club have been honest with him about direction of where they wanted to go, and that it would only be to the end of the season. And yeah, full credit to Jack. He's he's taken it, the bull by the horns, so to speak, and you're taking his opportunities.
The Bradford Bulls by the horns.
Yeah, Bradford Bulls by the horns. Yeah, and he has. He's just getting better and better and better every week. And he's one of those sort of players that you feel as though if he was able to stay injury free, would make a great contribution to any team. It's too good for the Championship. It's too good for the lower reach of Super League. He needs to be a top 6 club really to really benefit. And yeah, said just a shame he's not going to be with Rovers next season and beyond. But yeah, hopefully he can see us through to the end of the season.
Yeah,
next week.
Unfortunately, he's found himself at a bottom 3 club.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So
yeah.
We wish him well, as long as it's not against Hull Kingston Rovers. For me, Craig, this was the next try is what won the game for me. 6 minutes later, Hull Kingston Rovers going for the second try of the game. Ryan Hall, I mean, what an absolute fantastic job he did to spin out of, I think there was 4 lead players on him to get the ball over the line. Obviously, it went to the screen to see whether he grounded or not. He sent it up as a try, so naturally it was given as a try. For me, though, it was the work before it which got Ryan Hall into that position, which was so key. I mean, Matty Parcell, for me, he was absolutely outstanding that first half, and quite rightly he got the plaudits for the way that he rips possession from the lead player, he bursts clear, he almost goes over himself for a try. Next play, Ryan Hall bounds over and he gets the ball down. But for me, that was the match winner. That's where, when you look back, that was where the game was won. Them 2 tries going back to back, that seemed to be the difference. And Lee never really recovered. Was never able to get back in the game in terms of the scoreline after them 2 tries.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I've actually got written it down. Matt Parcell. He was absolutely outstanding. Best player on the pitch by a mile for me. For him to do that, to have the nerve to do that in a high pressure game, it takes some bollocks. And he, like I said, I actually thought he was going to go over for a try. But yeah, like you just said, when Ryan Hall went over, I was just like, we've done this. And there was still like quite a long time to go. But the fact that Ryan Hall, you get him near the line, he's just going to go over. I don't understand why the referee or the video ref was looking so many times at the screen. There was one angle for me where it came from the back, and you could just the ball was down. But again, I don't know if I had my rose tinted spectacles on, but yeah, I was going mad just saying give it a try, and like you said, as soon as he gave it, I kind of knew. I just had a feeling we was going to go on to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, James, that ball steal from Matty Parcell, I mean, he was absolutely red hot. He was on fire. Anything he did just came off for him, and to rip the ball out of him so confidently and be able, like I said, he nearly scored himself, and that would have been one of the tries of the season for me for the way he did it. But Ryan Hall, he showed his power. He showed everything that Ryan Hall is about. He put the ball down, and was a fantastic try for the Robins, and obviously Brad Schneider, he goes and puts the 2 points over, and it's so important as well, isn't it, James? Brad Schneider's kicking. I think it's been forgotten about a little bit about Brad Schneider's kicking. That it's almost we almost expect him now to kick it, and this isn't being something that we're used to as a Hull Kingston Rovers supporter. You know, we're being a bit indifferent with our goal kicking, and credit to Schneider because he's really took it on. And yeah, he's not got every single kick he's done, but you know, he's winning games with his kicks as well.
He is, and you know, it's a great feeling to have. And I think you're right. You know, we've had Kurt with Abdul. You know, both of on the day could be really good kickers, but just for whatever reason not doing it for Rovers. And I think now when you see Schneider taking a kick at goal, more often than not you expect him to kick it. You know, it's not as though in the past you're thinking, oh yeah, it may or may not go over. With Schneider, you're thinking, yeah, it's probably got a fairly decent chance of going over. I think really highlight. I think it was last week you posted some the point scorers so far this season. You know, considering he's only been with us since middle of July, and is the top point scorer.
Yeah, well, prior to the league game, James, I think he was on 82 points.
82 money, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Michael Lewis was second. So incredible, really, when you consider what point. But it's based on his kicking.
Exactly. Yeah, because I don't know how many tries he's got, but I don't think it's about 2 or 3, isn't it? But say it's all down to his kicking, and more often than not, they are crucial kicks. And I think that conversion to Hall's try, I think, as Craig said earlier in the conversation, that basically was the game then, because you have to look at that first half and thinking, really, had Lee threatened us? No, they hadn't. I think you look at their players like 𝗕𝗂𝗴𝗴𝗲𝗁. He was anonymous. Sort of they weren't sort of making any grounds at all. And you're thinking, if we could just hold out defensively, be as solid defensively as we have been, that's the game. And I said to watching this, I said to my wife, I said they've now got to start throwing the ball around. They've got to force the game. Then they're going to force errors. And that's going to make it play into Rovers' hands. And they just didn't have anything in response.
No, James, and we expected that to happen. And one player, Craig, who probably didn't have the best game of his career was Gareth O'Brien. I mean, and we exploited that, didn't we? We're talking about Schneider's kicks. Schneider kicks it off. Gareth O'Brien makes an absolute mess of trying to recapture it. And then Sam Luckley goes in for an absolutely fantastic try. I mean, we're talking about players who played well. Sam Luckley, 1 try, 16 tackles, 5 tackle busts, 11 carries. He made 90 metres. He had 2 clean breaks. He had 3 offloads, which is fantastic when you consider the minutes he was on the pitch. And Sam Luckley goes over for a well-deserved try. Schneider with a kick. Gareth O'Brien with the absolute muck-up. And, we're saying the Ryan Hall try is when the game was won. I think for me that was when the game was absolutely signed, sealed, and delivered, because you couldn't just see a way back for Lee after that. And if there's one player who I wish to have a shit game at Craven Park, it was probably him. And thankfully it came up at a time when we needed him to have the probably shittest game of his career, because he was just not at the races whatsoever. And thankfully for the Robins, credit to them. They're the ones who capitalised on it.
Yeah, it was about time he had a bad game against us. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking that as the wind caught the ball, and I thought for a second, I was like, actually, I don't care, we've got the ball back. But it was a great move. So I remember, luckily, was on the right-hand side at one point. So when he actually went over, I was in the north stand. It looked like it was Kane Lynette. It was only when obviously the guy in the tannoy said it was Luckley, and I watched it back when I got home. And what a move! But just going on to Luckley, I think he's been up in his game for like the last few weeks for me. I think Willie Peters said in his press conference the other week, he doesn't realise how good he can be. And so he's expecting more from Luckley. And I think, what he showed on Friday, making breaks, scoring tries, and I think he was carrying people, again, stay on his feet, getting the offloads. I think I thought he was one of our best props. I think probably the best prop for us on Friday night. and he deserved his try.
Yeah, he was certainly the best prop on Friday night. And James, if you rewind to the start of the season, I mean, we're signing from Salford, where he wasn't necessarily a regular at the Salford Red Devils. He come into our side. I think many supporters expected him to be a backup player, maybe a bit part player. You know, he'll do a job when he's called upon. Well, he's up there with Michael Lewis and Jez Littens as most appearances this season, and he's undroppable. I think at this stage, I think of all the props. Yeah, of course, George King. I think George King, Sam Luckley, them two are pretty much nailed on their position inside now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you're right. You're right. I think at the beginning of the season, we did see him very much as a sort of backup. And I think if you look back to some of the games he was having early in the season, I think he's perhaps trying a bit too hard. You know, he's got an offload. I think sometimes he's trying to force it when he didn't need to, but he's sort of reined that back in now, and he sort of really just does it when, you know, on the right moment. But I think it's the yardage he's making as well, in close contacts, and just, you know, running off the ball. You know, that I think that's another. It's taking his game to another level. And you're right. I think for me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet. You know, I think it's great. You know, he can come on. You know, when you got somebody of his quality coming on, you know, after 20-25 minutes, when, you know, King and or Kennedy have been sort of battering the opposition, and you got somebody like Luckley coming on to give a 15-minute burst just before half time. It just adds another dimension that we look back over the years, we've just not had, and now we've got that. You know, we've got that rotation, quality rotation that, you know, the top teams have had. That in the past we've, you know, two decent props to start off with, we've rotated and we've sort of gone back into our shells. We don't have that now, and I think a lot of that credit goes down to Sam Luckley and the impact that it has on the team, and, you know, on the performance. And that try, you know, it was outstanding.
Yeah,
you know, just right place, right time. You know, and he could, you know, he's like a double decker bus through that gap that was, you know, being created. And he said that was it. That was the game. Totally sealed.
I was just Craig. I think a couple of weeks ago on social media, I put out that this is probably one of the fittest packs forward lines that I've ever seen at Hull Kingston Rovers in the Super League era. The fact that we can go into this game against Leigh with Abdul Listen on the bench, you know, Abdul obviously filling in the forwards, second row, you know, playing wherever Woody Peters decides he needs to put him. But the fact we're able to go into a game of that magnitude with Staunton and Luckley on the bench, obviously King and Sue the starting props. I mean, we've not been accustomed to having a forward line as fit as this for a long time, and that's as well with Sue carrying, you know, obviously injured for a long part of this season. I mean, Kennedy, 18th man, a player who was getting better and better as the season gone on. You know, I think we've been blessed this season with that forward line, and I don't know what is in the water. I don't know whether it's the conditioning. I don't know if it's pre-season. I don't know whether it's just the type of players. But I think that's been key to our success, our relative success this season, is that the pack has been quite consistent. And for a Hull Kingston Rovers supporter, this is uncharted territory, because normally our forward line is the one that gets decimated with injuries for so many years.
Yeah, and, you know, I think it does come back to pre-season. You know, you set your stall there. You know, you work on your kind of mentality as well as the physical aspects in the pre-season. I think what Willie Peters has brought as well is that he's not scared to drop players if they're not pulling the weight. So I think he's trying to improve players all the time. And just talking about, this is for me the fittest squad we've ever had. But again, I know you're talking about the pack. But when Leigh broke down in the second half, I was looking at the players who were coming back, and the props were there, that they were set up in position. And the fact I was able to try and sprint back as quick as I could, get in position to defend, it shows how much the club means to them as well, and how much They don't want to let the teammates down. And it's refreshing. It is so good to see. And it gives the fans more confidence as well. And, in what we're seeing week in, week out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Craig, it's funny you mentioned that about togetherness and the team spirit, etc. There's something I highlighted and something I picked out, and it was when Lynette absolutely smashed 𝗕𝗂𝗴𝗴 in, I think it was mid 60 minutes, 67 minutes, something like that. He did it just after 𝗕𝗂𝗴𝗴 got pulled up by the referee for doing a tackle on Lewis. I think he absolutely mullered Lewis. And I think that tackle from Lynette was a response to Lynette laying 𝗕𝗂𝗴𝗴 laying one on Lewis, and that was almost like, "Hey, you're gonna take him on? Well, I tell you what, we're going to give you it both barrels back." And I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but it just so the fact it was a couple of minutes later just seemed to be quite resonant. I don't know. Did you pick it up, James?
I did. To be honest, I didn't actually know. But going back to that togetherness, I think just the way they celebrate an error, that when they force an error, it's almost they celebrate it as much as scoring a try, and that's great to see. That just that togetherness and that cohesion and that camaraderie and just wanting to fight for each other and support each other. It's there and it's so refreshing. We just have not seen that for years.
No, I mean there was a big moment. I mean, 53 minutes. 𝗕𝗂𝗴𝗴, he stopped Mellors scoring. Mellors dives over. He got done for offside, no try. I mean, if that try had been scored, I mean, it could have been different. Who knows? But he was right in giving the offside. I mean, some of the stats: Ryan Hall, 194 meters. Michael Lewis, 152 meters. A player who consistently features high in the stats. Matty Parcell, 144 meters. For me, these two players are just so important. James Batchelor and Minchella. James Batchelor, 43 tackles. Elite Minchella, 38 tackles. I mean, absolute engine room in there in terms of defence. And that's, of course, without Dean Hadley being in that side who missed out through injury. He's normally up there with a tackle count. Matty Parcell, though, third in the tackle count, 31 tackles. Average gain, Matty Parcell, 11 carries, 144 metres, an average gain of 13 metres. Ryan Hall, 9 carries, average gain of 9 metres, 22 carries, 194 metres he made. And Matty Staunton, who just seems to be getting better and better, 9 carries, average gain of 9 metres, 83 metres he made. I mean, some of the stats that they're coming up with that when it counts, and one of the key stats for me as well is I think the way that they kept the lead forwards down in their meters, that they just didn't give them a chance. And it was similar to when we beat them just after the Challenge Cup final, how we just stifled the pack. And I think that's the key to the Robins at the moment, is that that the work they do in the middle, Craig, that they seem to be so tight and so control of stopping the opposition, which ultimately lays the platform for us to be able to then go and score the points when it counts.
Yeah, again, it comes back to that togetherness and the work they did in the pre-season. But I think, you've got to give credit to the coach and the staff. I know Delaney, I think he's been getting a lot of praise from the players for, the intensity that he wants them to play at. Again, that just goes with the fitness. But what I will say on Ryan Hall, I don't know if you picked it up, Johno. He actually looks like he picked up an injury as well in that first half. Now, I didn't notice during the game until I watched it back, and it looked like he was struggling with his calf arm. And then all of a sudden, like, he stays out the play for quite a few sets, and then he's back charging upfield again. God knows what happened there. But, you look at them stats, and it's playoff rugby, mate. They win your games. If they continue with that on Saturday, again with those stats, we've got a great chance of winning that game.
Yeah, I mean, James, we wax lyrical about Ryan Hall almost every time we do this bloody podcast now. He's like, if he came onto the pitch with a cape on, you won't be surprised, would you? Because he's like the modern day rugby league superhero. Come off the hour, come off the man. I mean, he made that break, didn't he? Where everyone was willing him to go score
Yeah.
the try. Tom Briscoe unfortunately caught him up, and he's just energy, enthusiasm, professionalism. He's like if you know, I show my son Ryan Hall, and he says, "I want to be Ryan Hall because
Yeah.
he's fast, he's quick, he's powerful, he's a good guy, and
Yeah.
he's just got everything." And you know what? I think we talked about it previously about Ryan Hall. Paul Cook asked him the question on Sky Sports about,
Mm.
have you got one more pre-season? And Ryan Hall
Yeah.
jokingly said, "Well, what do you mean just one more? You know,
Yeah.
maybe he's looking beyond that." But you look at him and you know, I'll never ever apologise, and I'll never get sick of talking about Ryan Hall. And you know what? He made a name for himself at Leeds, and quite rightly, he's a Leeds Rhinos legend for what he achieved with them. On the international stage, he's took his game to that level. But I tell you what, he's almost reborn at Hull Kingston Rovers, and his time at the club, um, well, he'll go down in folklore, won't it, for what he's able to do. Some people have said he's the best winger Hull Kingston Rovers have ever had. I'm sort of sitting on the fence on that one yet because I just think we're in the here and now. It's quite easy to say that, and if you look at the players who have gone before him, um, there's lots of good wingers that Hull Kingston Rovers have had. But Ryan Hall, just a wow of a man and a wow of a player.
Yeah, is you had the right word earlier. He's professional, and you know he could have easily come to Rovers. You know he'd done it all at Leeds. You know, okay, his time at the Roosters didn't go as well as expected, and he could have think, okay, I'll come to Rovers, just wind down my career and just get a couple of years out of it. But my God, none of that at all. You know, and you're right. You know, we talk about it every week, and every week it just astounds us every single week, and he is that role model that I think any young player at the club, I think even some of the the more established players would want to look up to him and say, actually, look at his age, Ryan Hall with his age, and he's still churning out those type of performances week in, week out, with no sign whatsoever of giving in. And we were joking about it yesterday in waiting for to come back, and he's saying, you could see him go for another 2 or 3 years. And if he feels he could do it, why not? Why not? If he feels he could do that, sign him up. Get him on that longer term contract. But he has been, he has been absolutely astounding for the club. And I still pinch myself every time he runs out in a red and white Rovers, and just thinking, we're actually watching a legend of the game. Still churning it out and doing the business. But he's doing it for Rovers.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, mate, my missus keeps pinching herself when she sees him running out for Kingston Rovers as well, and then it's not to do with his ability on the pitch. It's more to do with his. I think when he takes his top off, and you see the videos of him singing "Red Red Robin" in the changing rooms and stuff. But that's another one. But Craig, I tell you what, a special mention for the supporters on Friday night. What a fantastic occasion! What a fantastic atmosphere! Absolutely propelled the boys on to victory. And what it clearly showed to me is that the team, the crowd, Paul Sewell said it at the Player of the Year Awards. If everybody's heading north, everyone's heading in the right direction or the same direction, then you achieve success. And at the moment, certain things are just aligning themselves where we're all pointing in the same direction. And there's a great synergy between the supporters and the team right now.
Yeah, definitely. I don't actually know the attendance. I don't think they announced it, but my God, that atmosphere on Friday night for me was one of the best at home this year. I've enjoyed going to more away games in terms of atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, there's been a good atmosphere at home, but Friday night was just on another level. We took someone who's not been to a rugby game before at Craven Park, and there was is the atmosphere like this all the time. It's unbelievable, and I think it must give the players a lift. The players have said it enough times. That they're our extra man. It's But yeah, unbelievable. And, I know we're going to be backed on Saturday by another massive following. So, like you said, the club is going places, everyone's on board, the fans are on board. And it shows with the attendances that have gone up. Well, the average attendance has gone up this year. It was another sellout, I think it was on Friday. But yeah, outstanding on Friday night.
Yeah, and I think part of the jubilation and the celebration at Wakefield after we secured the victory and made sure that we got fourth spot was the fact that they was able to bring Lee back to Craven Park and play there. And I think that was part of it because the players love playing at home. And I think the crowd play a massive part in that. Of course, James, the crowd are going to play a massive part against Wigan on Saturday. There's a few things that have gone on in between our victory over Lee and our upcoming game against Wigan. I mean, we've had the announcement that, well, not announced, rumoured departure of Danny McGuire. He's apparently seeing out his contract at Hull Kingston Rovers and he's going to be departing to join Castleford Tigers as head coach, although that's not confirmed yet. We've had the announcement or rumoured announcement that Jai Whitbread's coming across from Wakefield to make way for him signing for Hull Kingston Rovers. Rhys Kennedy's been let go from his contract. Rowan Milnes is rumoured to be joining Danny McGuire at Castleford as well. In the build-up to one of Hull Kingston Rovers' biggest games in recent memory, it's not ideal preparation, is it, at the start of the week? Although you'd expect Willie Peters to bat it back, which he did in the press conference today. He didn't field any questions to do with that, which maybe for some people might say, well, sometimes when you don't say nothing, it gives more credence to the fact that it might actually be happening. But it's not ideal, is it, in a week where Hull Kingston Rovers are 80 minutes away from a grand final appearance? You don't want all this kind of noise and nonsense to be going on.
No, you don't. And it just seems uncanny that every time we just get, we've got a big, massive game coming up, there just seems to be something that blows up that, has the potential to upset everything and upset all the preparations. And I think, yeah, it wouldn't be a Rovers without being something like that, would it? Yeah, I think Willie Peters.
I'll tell you what, James. You know what? Like I've seen you today. I've spoke to you.
Yeah.
Do you think this is like I said to you before? Have they been sat on this waiting for it to come out? Because the timing of it all just seems bizarre to me. Not just one, not two, but 3 stories breaking about Hull Kingston departures, assistant coach leaving, blah blah blah. And to be fair, I think it's substantiated by quite a lot of people. These things are true, but it's not suddenly just happened, has it? It's not just happened on Monday or Sunday, and it just feels like, I don't know, the press, whoever has been sat on this, have maybe deliberately waited to release it now when Hull Kingston Rovers are at the top, when they're the most newsworthy, when people want to know about them. It just seems to be, I don't know, bad time. Some people say it's just timing. Other people will say, well, it's deliberate, and I don't know. I'm scratching my head thinking maybe.
No, same here. It just seems a coincidence. You're not telling me that suddenly on Sunday night, Castleford thought, oh, we'll offer the job to Danny McGuire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that there have been discussions around that in the past, and you know what the game's like. People whispers come out and rumors start, and people talk to people, and suddenly it becomes a journalist has got as an exclusive. But the way it just seemed to happen on Sunday night, and then got that momentum through the whole week, and just potentially totally derail the preparations. And when you contrast it to what happens at the likes of Wigan and Saints and Catalan, they never seem to have anything like this. If you look at what Wigan news this week, it's all about, well, actually we've signed Luke Thompson. So it's a positive story for them going forward. Saints, it's about doing it all for Roby and LMS, and Catalan, it's all about selling out the Brutus when they don't even know who they're playing, you know, and having to build, you know, extra stands to accommodate everybody. Whereas Rovers, it's your assistant coach is going to another club.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
it just seemed bad. It just seems such an amazing coincidence.
yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it, Craig? I mean, let's dive into it. I mean, Danny McGuire has been a fantastic servant for Hull Kingston Rovers. He served the club with great integrity. He's probably propelled us to that next level. He came, of course, as a player, raised the standards in terms of his playing ability and the way he brought the players around him into that next level, or tried to do. As an assistant coach, he's definitely contributed to the club. And for me, it's sad that it looks like he's departing. Of course, nothing's officially announced yet, but from the stories I've heard and from the people who've told me about him, it's pretty much going to happen. Obviously, there's a void to be filled there. That's for a different podcast, I think, about who might replace him. But we just don't need this right now, do we? You know, give it a week because by Rovers could lose on Saturday and the season's over. Announce it after that. There's no rush, is there, to get it out there like it is now.
No, when it came out, it was just like, here we go again. And like I found it really frustrating because I thought as a club we've moved forward and we don't you're used to these kind of things happening. So when it happened, I'm like, why is this happening again? We're supposed to be a club on the up, These stories are just the crap. They don't do anyone any favours. Like you said, it's a big game this weekend. The players don't need it. The coach don't need it. They're all together, trying to focus on getting the best performance out of them this week. And for that to come out, I'd be gutted if he does go because I think he has raised the standards on and off the field. And that means at board level, I think he's had a good relationship with the board by the sounds of it with Lakin. He took us on that journey the back end of last year. He's coming as assistant coach. When I've seen him on Sky as well, it looks like he's absolutely loving it at Rovers still. He's loving the partnership with Willie Peters. I'd seen clips. He was still in the box on Friday night. He was down on the pitch with all the players, high-fiving players, hugging players with a big smile on his face. And I'm dumbfounded about where this story's come from. Obviously, there's got to be some truth in it. But I just hope not. And, I know you're probably going to bring up about Jez Littens, but Jez Littens said something in his interview that he loves working with Danny Mags. And, I'm thinking, is he a clue there? I start reading so much into things and thinking, it must be a rumour. He's staying. Jez Littens said that he loves working with him. So, yeah, but at some point he's going to want to coach his own team. And I remember him saying back in the last year he wasn't ready. I don't understand why Castleford, especially if it's true that Danny Ward rejected Cass. I'm just a bit lost with it. I just don't understand it, especially we're on the up. And I think did Danny McGuire sign a 3-year deal when Willie Peters signed a 3-year deal? And for me, the expectation was Danny McGuire would take over Willie Peters and he would be more than ready. Yeah. Unless he's had a change thought and thinks he's ready now, then fair play to him. But yeah, he's been outstanding for the club.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is if you don't end up Cass, he still won't be at Hull Kingston Rovers next season. I know that for a fact. His contract, that's it. He's done at Hull Kingston Rovers. He's seen out his contract to the end of the season. Hopefully that lasts longer than Saturday, but he will not be at Hull Kingston Rovers next season. And it'll be interesting to see who fills the void. Incomings and outgoings, James, Jai Whitbread from Wakefield, quota player. To make way for him, though, is Rhys Kennedy, who's apparently had his contract paid off. I'm calling bullshit on that bird who's on Twitter saying it's his girlfriend. The fact that this Twitter account's been created, no post previously, or no tweets, whatever, or X's, whatever you call them now. and only comments on Rhys Kennedy. I'm calling bullshit on that. So,
Yeah.
but the story's broke. By all accounts, it's happening. I know that one of his sponsor, which is Wayne Parker, he's been informed that he won't be sponsoring him next season because he won't be at the club. By all accounts, he's probably going to Castleford. It's a funny one with Rhys Kennedy, isn't it, James? Because he's a player who got off to a slow start with the Robins, but he seemed to get better. I don't know, each game he played, and by the end, or where we are now, he seemed to be a mainstay of the side, and then he got dropped for the Salford game, and then he was 18th man for Lee. I don't know. Jai Whitbread, obviously he's what, 25, 3 years younger than what Rhys Kennedy is, so you're going to get a bit more game out of him. I don't know. It's a bit of a head scratcher for me. I don't know. I don't know where I am with it. Because...
No, same here as well. I think of all the players that came in from the NRL to the club at the beginning of the season, I think it's fair to say that Kennedy was probably had the slowest start. And I think in an interview a few weeks ago, he acknowledged that he was a bit, I think, surprised by the UK, the UK and the whole experience of being over here. And I think then sometimes you have to give players time to adapt to it. And I think his performances, you could see his improvement in his performances. He seemed to be cutting out the errors. He seemed to be cutting out the penalties. His solid performances. He was doing, a couple of tries that we was involved in a run around, led some really good tries, and he seems to be going in the right direction. And then to suddenly sort of say, well, actually, he's not getting picked. But that could be down because Sue was back, and Peter's just said, well, actually, Sue gives me more options and better performance than Kennedy, and it's a nice position to be in. But yeah, it does seem a bit of a strange one. I must admit, I don't really know about Whitbread, so all you've got to do in these instances is just, trust the club and the and Willie Peters and the backroom team, and that they're making the right decisions. Seems to got most things right so far. But yeah, it does seem a strange one when he has been certainly progressing, and I'd say for a key member of the squad.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, Rhys Kennedy, he's been okay, hasn't he? I mean, do you know what? All I'm basing Rhys Kennedy on this season, it's probably a bit naive of me, is that based on our previous imports from the NRL who have played in the forward line. I mean, to see Corbin Sims strutting around on the during the NRL Grand Final, I mean, yeah, wow. Obviously, it's not based on his performances previously, and then to see Albert Vete lining up for Doncaster in the League One Grand Final probably shows you where they are. And Rhys Kennedy for me is compared to that, he's up there. So, but maybe that's a sign of the club, Craig, and where we're progressing, the standards we set, the expectations on these players is that we're progressing, and there's no doubt Willie Peters is a hard ass, isn't he? If you're not up to it, you're out, and if you don't think you're up to it, and if you don't fit in, and you don't maybe do what he wants you to do, he'll bring someone else in for the benefit of the club, and that's not a bad place for a head coach to be for us, is it?
No, just like I was scratching my head because I thought it's not been so bad. He's actually improved. I know there was during the season where he came out and said that he wasn't playing at the standard he thought he should have been at, and he went away, did some work, and he came back and he was a lot better. And yeah, but like you said, we've got to trust the coaching team. Willie Peters is. It comes across like if you don't play well or you don't meet my standards, that another player will come in. And as a club, obviously, we've said already like the standards are just going up. So obviously, Willie Peters and the coaching team, they train with him every day, so that they get to see him more than we do. So we'll probably see he's got some weaknesses there that he might not have been improved on throughout the season, and they just want to go in a different direction. But just on this, is it Whitbread? Yeah. I've not really heard so much about him either. I've heard he was one of Wakefield's best props, but it's not really saying a lot because I think they've been dire all year. But like he is younger. I've not seen so much of him. I think he's been injured quite a lot this year. I'm not sure how serious the injuries are, but if it is true that Kennedy is going, I wish him all the best. I don't think he's shied away from anything. Like you said, he's a lot better than what we had in previous years. It's an odd one.
Yeah, well, another player who's probably on his way out, Ray Milnes. We all probably expect him to go. I mean, signing Tyrone May, John Abdul, Michael Lewis in the halves. It's very difficult for Ray Milnes. We'll speak about him on a podcast to come. James Purling, Jez Littens, 4-year contract. Well deserved.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. And I think it's, if you look at, getting something like Jez tied down for that length of time, and you think, look at all the other players they've got signed on long-term contracts, like Minchella and Lewis and Abdul. It just really shows that the club has identified a core group of players who they want to be around for that club for a long time, and to build a squad around them and take us forward. So now you've got Littens signed up. Thoroughly deserved. He should be in the England squad. His performances have been absolutely outstanding. He's taken it onto another level, and he's certainly going to be the number one hooker when Parcell goes back to the NRL, potentially after his end of next year when his contract runs out. But yeah, you're thinking, get Littens signed up. You've got Littens signed up, then you start to think players like Batchelor, getting him signed up as well, a long-term contract. And it's just again, it's a different, for Rovers fans, we're actually uncharted territory now, where we just actually being able to plan for the future. You look at, said the players are being in and signing long-term contracts. It's that, solid group of players are going to be around for a while, and then potentially bringing in other players from other clubs, like Butterworth, who's rumoured to be signing, Wallace, who's already signed, who then could come in and learn off these players and then potentially move on to the into the first team squad in the future. And it's just a totally different mindset and direction where the club is going. And it's you look at the likes of Wigan, you look at the Saints, that's what they've done. They've built the future now. And we're now starting to do that.
Yeah, long-term planning, confidence, security. It's welcome to see, isn't it? Because, like you said, James, we've been a long time where we've been going from this to that, fitting between players not working out, etc. So the fact that we've put our confidence in young English talent and secure them on long-term deals is very welcome to see. Shout out to the women's side. They've gone fantastic this season under Ben Parker. Championship grand final, they beat Stanley in the semi-final at the weekend, 26 points to 12. Amazing, wasn't it, to get both the men's side and the women's side in grand finals? Wow, what a story that would be. So all credit to them. They know they can't get promotion this season, but they are absolutely like a steam train. They are desperate for success, and we wish them well. And they got great support on Sunday down at Craven Park, and hopefully for the grand final we'll get even more support, because they're desperate for it, and it's well deserved. Craig, Wigan on Saturday, 80 minutes away from the grand final. Wow. Our fourth semi-final in 3 years. Only one of them has resulted in a final appearance. Hopefully on Saturday we can make it another final appearance. Squad news: it only looks like Jeffy Sue's the one who's an injury out. He's got an adductor injury. The good news is that Dean Hadley's looking fit, and he should be ready to go. So it's almost like for life. Any fear of going to Wigan on Saturday and being able to come away with a a result?
I was actually saying to James before, and we don't actually have anything to fear, I don't think. You know, the fact we've beaten in one semi-final all year, yes, they'll be up for it because they'll want to gain revenge. We've beaten them in the league. We've been beat in Golden Point, and obviously the game before the Challenge Cup final was sent to the young squad. But I don't think we do. They've got individuals like, for me, Field and Bevan French are unbelievable. But we've shown in past games, we've kept them quiet. When we can keep their key players quiet and we stay within the game, we can win it. So for me, we can go there with full of confidence. It's going to be backed by a big following from the crowd. Again, I honestly think the Rovers players will come out and they'll feel like they're at home. Our fan base is going to be that loud, and yeah, the fact we've beat them already, they should have confidence going into the game, thinking we've beat these, we can do this again on their home turf.
Yeah, and James, Wigan don't have necessarily the best record in semi-finals recently, do they?
No, they don't. I think, you know, we could go there full of confidence. You know, I think last year they played Leeds at the same stage, and were expected to win. They didn't. In 2019, they did the same thing with Salford, and Salford turned them over. All the pressure on Saturday is going to be on Wigan. You know, they've won the league leaders. They've got this background of not having won these semi-finals. They've got that in the back of their mind that, you know, they know we can compete with them. You know, we've ground out a semi-final win against them already. So yes, they will be wanting revenge. But if you look at the Rovers team now to the one that played in that semi-final at Leeds, I think it's a much stronger team, a much stronger squad. You know, we've got players back. You know, we've got Abdul back. You know, hopefully we'll have Sue back. You know, we've got Jack Walker, you know, at the back who couldn't play because he was cup tied. We've got Snyder now who's sort of evolved into his position. You know, we can go there with full of confidence and with no fear at all. You know, and we've got, you know, we're in there. We've got a chance of winning the game, and yeah, go with full confidence.
I was going to say, James, do you think that the team, the 13 and the interchanges pick themselves almost for Saturday? I mean, we know Sue could be missing, so you'd put Hadley in his place. I mean, everyone else is fit.
Yeah.
Do you go for the same team that beat Lee? I'm guessing there's not really anyone else. You won't bring Aiden in, would you? You won't bring Kyle.
No, you wouldn't. No. What's the point? There's no point. You know, if you've got a settled team, and again, it's not something we've had the luxury of having over the past few years. I don't think it does. It more or less picks his team, and you think, as you said, if Sue doesn't play and Hadley comes in, you don't lose anything. You know, that's the thing. You know, where we are now, you're bringing in players to replace players, and you're just not losing anything at all. You know, that solidity, that strength is there. And if it ain't broke, we'll why change it just for the sake of it.
And Craig, how refreshing is it to be at the end of the season, right? Bear in mind the end of last season where we barely could get a squad out and we still managed to go beat them lot with 16 men, right? But look where we are now. We've almost got a fully fit squad. And I remember doing a podcast with Paul Cook, and I think it was mid-season. We was talking about injuries and was talking about maybe there'd been pre-season had been too hard and they expected to have a lull. Well, they had that lull, and actually we're coming back stronger, you know, than we've ever been that I can recall in Super League for a very, very long time. And you've got players who are not only fit, they're absolutely fighting fit. They're peaking, and it's refreshing to see. And that's why I think I've got no fear of going to Wigan on Saturday. And I'm predicting victory. As I said it before the league game, I thought we had too much for Lee. We just seem to be red hot at the moment, and you know, probably like you, Craig. I'd rather go to Wigan on Saturday than Catalan on Friday. Let's be honest. But
100%.
you know, we beat Wigan before. It was a close game, And don't get me wrong, Wigan had a man sent off, blah, blah, blah. We beat them in the league. It just no fear for me going to Wigan. And like you said, having 4,500 players behind them sticks, lightheadingly, almost sucking in the ball for a try. I just, uncharted territory for Rover supporters almost.
Yeah, I think you're right. Halfway through the season, you're thinking, oh, Jesus, the injury curse has hit us once again. But they must be doing something behind the scenes. And again, I know Willie Peters spoke about recovery sessions. The recovery time it's a lot quicker. And, the fact we're getting players back, we've got a fully fit squad, barring maybe Sue, but they're peaking at the right time. It's not like they're looking tired and they're out on the feet. Go back to last weekend, Slee. We looked fresh. Obviously the players are tired towards the end of the game, but if it needed to go to golden point, the looks like there was energised enough. And the fact is that they're picking up form. You got Luckily coming into form at the right time. Mikey Lewis, his partnership with Schneider. Schneider's been with us obviously for a few months now, and his game's getting better every week. You got Jack Walker, who's finding his confidence, and it goes for the full squad. So yeah, it's a great time to be in like the semi-final. Like I just think we are peaking. We're hitting all the right notes.
Yeah, James, what do you think on Saturday? Are you predicting a victory? Do you think they've got it in them to be able to get over the line? I mean, Wigan, formidable outfit. We've already mentioned, haven't we? Jai Whitbread, Bevan French. I mean, Bevan French is top assist. There's no doubt Wigan have got a good team, but they're very beatable.
They are, they are a quality squad, and the fact that they won the League Leaders' Shield, really highlights that. And if we can control and keep the likes of Field and French quiet, keep the ball away from Miski, because I think Miski's probably been the find of the season, I think, from any club. Keep it away from him. Keep the forwards quiet. Then why not? We can do it. We've got just nothing to fear. And for me, I'm going for Rovers win. I'm going for Rovers win by about 16 points to 8.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
I think we need to remain disciplined. Like again, I think we have done in the last month or so. We get our attack working, but defend like we have been. I think we will win, but I think it'll be by 2 or 4 points. I think it'll be a very close game.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell you what, if you are going to the game on Saturday, make sure you are loud and proud, and you only have to reflect on the Challenge Cup semi-final victory to remember what a huge role the supporters played in that victory. This has been the Red Robin Podcast Weekly, which is powered by Budget Tyres on Auto Centre, the only car specialist trusted by players, club officials and supporters. And for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.